Good morning, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, family. Whatever the side of the diaspora that you are on, let me welcome you to the Mental House. I am your host, Khadijah. As y'all notice, I didn't sing today coming in. And I want to be as serious as possible because one of the subs asked me a question, sent me an email. I didn't want their name mentioned, and I understand that, and I respect that, but I thank you for your question. And the question pondered me. Made me ponder, is what I should say. And it made me really have to get real. And like I said, some of this stuff is very difficult when you're on the road to recovery. Those are the things that you have to let out. Because listen, your abuse is your abuse. You being a victim of somebody's mistreatment is not your fault. It's not your fault at all. So if you go to express your feelings about how you felt you were treated, remember, there's more room out than it is inside. And if you don't get some of that stuff out and you keep those secrets, then you are really protecting your abuser. And a lot of you have, especially some of my church or religious subs, we really have a problem with loyalty and what we perceive to be loyal, but it's all training. It's all indoctrination. And when you've been indoctrinated, just like when it's like programming. It's like, remember when you were a kid and you went to school and you were taught, I don't know about now, but when I was going to school, we used to have to put our our right hand over our hearts. And we would go, I pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then usually we would go into this, my country, 'tis of the sweet land of liberty. You get it? Now, you tell me anything that I've said, even in the pledge or even through the first words of that song, is actually true. None of it. It's fucking programming. Especially for me, because my people or me wasn't experiencing any kind of liberty or any kind of justice, and we certainly wasn't considered all. We were separate, okay, and unequal. So it was a lie, right? It was an illusion. Actually, the only thing that was true in this case is, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the. That's the real shit right there. The bombs bursting in this bitch. But I've regressed. Let me get back to what I was saying. I was asked a question, and again, it was very difficult because it made me ponder. And some of these things I'm going to talk about in the book because my journey has been so interesting that I really believe that it can help. It will help somebody that is struggling, that has been going through just the same thing I was going through as a preacher's kid, made to think that you were broken. Yeah, you were a million pieces, but you were also meant to pull yourself back together and separate yourself from the ones who were programming you to all this madness. Okay? Well, at least, and that's exactly what I feel in my life. So I've come to realize that my story is my story, and if anybody is offended by me telling my story, fuck you. Okay? because my story needs to be told. Again, just like your story needs to be told. You need to free yourself from the abuse, from the mistreatment, and from the degradation, and from the just madness that you were subjected to. Okay? So if you can't afford to go to a therapist and you can't afford, it doesn't really matter. Just get it out, because there's more room out than in. So I'm going to attempt to answer your question, because now it gets a little serious. And as I'm still on this journey, it becomes much more exciting, because while I know I'm not where I want to be, I thank God that I'm not where I was. Where I was whoa, in such a dark place a few years ago, that I wouldn't have gave a nickel for my life, or anything, because I couldn't figure out what was happening. And actually, they always say through love sometimes, and through or pain, the pain, love, the love of pain, the pain of love, brings you to a place in your life where you start to self-reflect, if you about anything. Okay, so even in a negative situation, I still am grateful for it, because it is because of that situation and that relationship that I will never ever look back again, because I get it. And I thank that relationship for allowing me to get it. You know what I'm saying? So you need to, I'm not saying that you're there yet. So, and I'm just going to use the adage of sub, and then you know who I'm talking about. Sub T. You asked me, when was the first time I realized that I was broken? I speak in terms of like horses a lot too, because it's one of my loves, and anybody that knows me know that I love horses. I used to raise them. I used to raise Arabians, and horses are very near and dear to me. I love them, and when they wow, one of the most challenging things for a hand is to a cowboy is to break that horse. There's a process that goes along, just like breaking a slave. Breaking a horse is a very interesting phenomenon, because the horse wants to be free. It wants to run wild. It wants to roam. And it is the most beautiful to me, and the muscular. Oh, I just love the horse. But that big, pretty horse can be broke. It can be broken to the point where, as heavy and as strong as it is, with one kick, it can knock you to here, smithereens. But it can get broke, and then all of a sudden you own that horse and you ride them. It's amazing. And in fact, that's the same kind of relationship that we had with our narcissistic parents, or husbands, wives. And I say parents because, again, most of the times that family of origin sets you up, but not always. Okay, so that's why I include the other entities. But I just want to say this. You asked me, when was the first time I felt broken? And it caused me to think, and in fact it caused me to almost shed a tear, because I hadn't gone back that place in such a long time. So I'm going to share it with you guys. I was about 3. And we had some, I don't know, I guess, put it like this. I was about 3 years old, and there was a neighbor boy, and I won't even mention his name. But we were both kids. He might have been 3. I might have been 3 or 2, and he might have been 3 or 4. Okay, so listen to this story, because it's not about where it came from. It's about what happened to us as children. So all I remember was Cricket telling me to lay down on the floor, and I'm going to use the word cricket because I don't know um, what other word I can use. Um, so Cricket Head told me to lay down on the floor, and there was this stuffed animal. And with the stuffed animal, it was a little monkey, I believe. And he was just making the monkey pop up on my behind. I don't know if my pants were down. I really don't even remember. Maybe they was a little down. I don't know. But I was laying on my stomach, and I remember this uh, activity with the monkey bump going up and down on my behind. And the next thing I recalled was my mother coming through the room or wherever we were and just beating me. She she beat me to the point where I couldn't even breathe. And I was so afraid of her. I was I was terrified. She I was terrified. And I could barely look up, and I was like, who is this bitch? I didn't know what had happened. That's exactly how it feels right now. It's like, what is going on? And I remember that being my first experience with when she broke me. Well, and I have to say, I was so small, and even in that experience, I couldn't do anything. Of course, I couldn't fight back. I couldn't even say anything back. But I thought something wasn't right. And that beating didn't make me comply. That beating made me angry because there was nothing explained to me. There was no kind of anything, no kind of conversation, kind of things that at least I try to have with my daughter when she would get out of order or do things that something I thought was inappropriate. I'm not saying that I might not have got that ass, but actually, I think I've only had to get physical with my daughter maybe 2 times in her whole life, maybe 3. Because when I told her to don't do something, usually she didn't do it. And I had a different way of communicating with her. I certainly didn't communicate with her the way my mother was communicating with me. And of course, during your teenage years, all kids are crazy. So that was uh, the bulk of my experience. I think I had more trouble with her when she was about to leave, and that's okay. But we're good now. We're great. But that's a normal process. But there's no way in the world a child that's small should be fearing their parent. And she made me so angry. And I don't think that's the last time I even did something like that. It seemed that I was very easily uh, curious, you know? So sexually, I was curious. And I don't even remember what I was doing. I got no pleasure out of it again. Sub T. I just let the monkey, he bumped the monkey on my behind, and I was tortured. And it was right then and there that I was like, ooh, that's a bit much. And yes, as you go through your recovery, you probably are going to have a lot of incidents that pop into your mind, and a lot of incidents that you're going to get very extremely angry about. I get it. But if you can kind of go back to the first moment that, like you said, that you were broken, then you can go through the process of healing yourself. Because that's what's next. And that's what this whole thing is all about. Not to show or prove or disprove whether you loyal to somebody else. It's not even about them. It's about you, your sanity, and you getting well. Because the treatment that you received as a young girl has helped create the dynamic that you are as a woman. And in order for you to be the best you can be, sometimes you got to fix that. And you got to get back into the amygdala and stop regurgitating those same memories over and over again and tap that frontal lobe and get to move. So I hope that helped you. I hope I answered your question. And I really appreciate your question because it made me even think. And it jarred some memories that I had totally forgot about. So if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe and join us right here in the Mental House, because this is where we dump all our mental stuff right here in the Mental House. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.